I work as an X-ray tech on the third floor of a district hospital. The morning smell here never changes. The warm plastic of the panels, the sharp bite of sanitizer, and the faint trace of vinegar from the old developer they still keep in the storage room, just in case. We haven't used film in years, but nobody bothered to get rid of the darkroom. Behind its lead-lined door lie empty cassettes, stacked like tombstones, and on the ceiling hangs a red lamp that no longer needs to glow red. That day, I was shooting a routine chest X-ray of a man in his 50s, pre-op screening. Lungs looked normal, heart wasn't enlarged, positioning fine. I pushed the image through PACS, adjusted window level, and saw near the spine a thin line. Barely there, like the lead from a mechanical pencil. Straight, just to the right of the spinous processes, running from somewhere around T12 almost up to C2. I thought, artifact. Took another shot with different collimation. The line stayed. I wanted to dismiss it as digital dust. I don't like radionuclides. Dust is a softer word. The second week, the line showed up again, this time in a 29-year-old woman with a cough. Same spot, right paravertebral shadow, like a string pulled taut. Not on the left lateral, only the right. I asked if she wore a thin chain on her back. She laughed. An X-ray? Are you joking? On the film, her necklace and the line didn't match up at all. The chain would have been a bright arc across the skin. This thing looked like it was inside. The tech across the hall said it was grid shadow. Grids sometimes leave stripes, but we hadn't used one. I started keeping notes. Name, date, marked the spot in PACS with an angle tool, scribbled down, Rod T11C4. Not a medical term, my own. Later I started calling it the black bone, because it behaved like bone. Only it didn't belong to the patient. The first to vanish was a homeless man brought in with hypothermia. He had the rod. Next day he was gone from the ward. Went out for a smoke and disappeared, the orderly joked. A bad joke. Then a mother of 2 with bronchitis never came back for her follow-up. Phone dead. 3 days later, after a young guy with a broken radius was discharged, I got a letter from the police. Please confirm the attendance of so-and-so. Missing? I caught myself thinking something ugly. Not everyone with the rod disappeared, but everyone who disappeared had it. It could have been coincidence, if the line didn't move. I pulled the first file of the homeless man, then the woman, then the kid. Compared. On follow-ups, 2 or 3 days later, the rod had crept 1 vertebra higher. Whatever it was, it climbed toward the atlas, counting vertebrae as it went. If they came back for repeat films, I could see it shift. If they didn't, PACS stayed silent, but inside me grew the feeling I wasn't supposed to be watching. Radiologists live in another world. We techs crawl into the machine's mouth. They sit behind glass and pronounce. I showed it to Dr. Ozernaya, a woman with thin glasses who almost never smiles. She clicked through the images, silent, adjusting windows, zooming. Asked if the grid was misaligned. Asked about ECG cables. No, not that. Then she pulled out an old film from the 70s. Spine, see this? Same thin line, buried in the grain. They blamed a bad cassette back then, she said. Old cassettes did that. But now, there are no cassettes. What is it? Do you want me to say, artifact, so you can sleep at night? She smirked without laughter. You work too many shifts. Get some rest. But sleep had long since abandoned me. Night shifts were my normal. In the empty corridor, every click of a collimator echoed, every soft shh of the grid's lamellae. PACS hissed like an old modem. Sometimes I'd sit in the darkroom, lights off, just the red lamp glowing faintly, smelling the vinegar fixer, pretending I was back in school, safe. That night I stayed late swapping an X-ray tube. Greasy brick, banded with straps, the reek of oil. I tugged too hard, felt something pull in my lower back. Our traumatologist grinned. Might as well shoot your own film while you're here. He slid behind the console, hit the switch. Snap. A minute later, there it was, my spine. Nothing unusual, except the line, thin as a hair, starting at T12 and climbing. My stomach clenched like I'd just gotten bad news over the phone. From that moment, days began counting differently. I carried the knowledge that something like a skewer was inside me. I didn't dare ask for follow-ups, too humiliating to beg colleagues. But every patient's rod became mine. Each one I measured, I silently counted up the cervical vertebrae. How far did they have left? Ozernaya went on vacation. A cocky intern filled in, writing showy notes in his protocols. I showed him one of the worst cases. A man in his 60s, rod nearly at the jawline. He shrugged. Optical. Crime? He couldn't find the word. Neither could I. Nights, I wandered back to the old darkroom. Heavy lead door, slow thunk as it closed. Inside, the red haze was calming, because nothing ever developed there anymore. I listened to the walls, a faint vibration like ductwork, and a sound like a tray nudged in shallow water. Chwak. My mind painted pictures of cassettes moving on rails by themselves. The neurologist wrote anxiety disorder, handed me an anxiolytic. The pill blurred the edges, but Pax shows what Pax shows. 5 days after my own film, my posture felt tugged, like someone invisible was pulling me up by a string. I sat in the archive, compiling the cases of those who'd vanished. 5 names. Pulled their DICOMs. In each, the last film showed the rod nearly at the skull base. And then, strange, in 3 of the 5 charts, 2 days later, appeared an extra study. Study 0. No patient name. 1.dcm file, size 0 bytes. PCS said, corrupt. But the thumbnail still rendered faintly with a tiny pale line. Angled this time, not vertical like the rod. At a very familiar angle, exactly the skew of our corridor wall, the one by the darkroom, built off plan. My body knew that angle by heart. I held a marker to the preview, lined it up, then held the same marker to the evacuation plan pinned to our wall. The angle matched. I told no one, because if you speak, men in suits will come and take your login away. That night, I pulled the technician access key from the safe, the one for the door nobody touched in years. Processing room. Lead slab with a yellow sticker. Danger. Radiation. No radiation inside for a decade. I turned the key. The door groaned open. The air smelled of vinegar, and something sweet, like old photo albums. The red lamp flicked on by itself. The room was quiet. Long counter with ridges for trays. Empty fixer tank. Black stains on the floor, like constellations. And at the far end, a second door, newer. Gray steel, chest height, a scratch, same angle as the phantom line. My hands raised the marker, fitting it to the scratch. Stupid. A thought kept circling. Here's where I'll find the room they go to. And another, and maybe I'll go too, because the line is inside me now. I turned the handle. A bare concrete corridor stretched ahead. The floor gleamed like it had just been mopped. On the wall hung a sign, Assembly Hall. But the arrow pointed into blank concrete. From above came the soft hum of a fan, and another sound, too familiar, the click of a collimator shutter. Tick, tick. Then, the faint whir of a bucky tray sliding. I walked forward, pulled along like on an elastic cord. Every few meters, thin white scratches ran across the floor. Not rails, more like frame marks in a film reel. I pushed that thought away. It came back anyway. Maybe something down here develops people. At the end stood a black booth, like an elevator with no buttons, door ajar. From within glowed a sickly green, like a failing monitor. The floor vibrated, like an old projector spool. I stepped closer. The air smelled not of vinegar now, but ozone, fresh, like a flashbulb. On the inside wall someone had once taped a strip of reflective tape. It matched the line inside me. On the floor lay scraps, a badge clip, a lanyard key, A single white bead. No phones. No wallets. Just little things. The kind of debris you never bring into a movie theater. I touched the doorway. My fingers came away, sticky, sweet. My rational brain screamed, "Call security. Seal it off. Bring the engineers." But another voice said, "If you walk away, you'll never know." And another, "You have the line too. The question isn't if, it's when." Behind me, something clicked. That same click we hear 100 times a day. Collimator, console, grid. But this one was exposure. The world hushed for a second. My neck twitched. The rod inside me seemed to quiver, not painfully, like a wire when a bird lands on it. I stepped onto the booth's threshold. Inside. Nothing but the faint green glow, the vibration, the smell. Something shifted in the corner, fabric-like, not shadow, fabric, heavy like a lead apron. No face. Maybe my mind, burned out after 3 straight nights, invented it. But then came a sound I knew too well. A quiet, human sigh. The kind patients make when I say, "Don't breathe." I froze, and standing there, on that strip of threshold, I almost understood where they go. Not gone, but across. Into the other side of someone else's machine. Where the extra bone isn't bone, but a guide rail. Where we're not patients, we're film. Being developed. Almost. Because just then, a fire alarm blared upstairs, and normal life came rushing. Guards, nurses, shouting. I pulled back my foot, the booth door sealed shut. I slammed the lead darkroom door, shoved the key back, scrubbed my hands with sanitizer, as if that could wipe away vinegar. Ozanaya came back 2 days later, told me I needed a vacation. I said sure. I didn't look at my next x-ray. Better safe. But at night, when I lie down and the silence thickens like in the darkroom, I swear I hear it again. The tiny click of the collimator. And inside me, the string trembles, for just a moment, as if from a faraway booth behind some wall, someone else's voice whispers, "Don't breathe." And I try not to, because maybe, just maybe, it's exposure. If you made it all the way to the end, then you're exactly the kind of person I'm looking for. Hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. I hope I can keep bringing you more stories, to make you smile, or maybe, to scare you.